Upgrades.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another JVS movie review. Today we are bringing you the latest installment in what has become the marquee action franchise of our time, and that is John Wick. And here we are talking about John Wick Chapter 4. And here is a quick synopsis. With the price on his head ever increasing, legendary hitman John Wick takes his fight against the high table global as he seeks out the most powerful players in the underworld, from New York to Paris to Japan to Berlin. And this is directed again by Mr. Chad Stahelski, who's directed, I think, all of the John Wick films. Again, it stars Keanu Reeves. This one also stars Donnie. It stars Bill Skarsgård, Lawrence Fishburne, Hiroki Sanada, and Shamir Anderson. Now, first thoughts of John Wick Chapter 4 is this is a video game on steroids. That's what this film feels like. It is so action-packed. It is so many set pieces here in this film. It's so many setups. The action is on 10. If you've been a fan of this series, especially of the last John Wick, when you saw them take Chapter 3 to a new level from the first two films, and thought that maybe we wouldn't get that. It's impossible to make it even bigger and better. And here we are with Chapter 4, which is as big as a Fast and Furious movie in every way, shape, form, or fashion. The set pieces are bigger. The action pieces are bigger and longer. Like, it gave me everything humanly possible that I would expect from a modern-day superhero film, mixed with Fast and Furious, which happens to be a modern-day superhero film, but without capes and with what we assume are normal people. As the film starts off, we see that, again, John is fighting to get away from the high table. We understood from the last film that every consequence, all the consequences of what his actions were that he was now excommunicated and needed to be killed. They want him dead. And we understand going into this film that was going to be the crux of the main issue here with John Wick, is him trying to escape the high table or trying to earn back his freedom as he once had long ago in the first film, before everything happened with his dog, when he had his freedom, and him now attempting to earn his freedom back here. Now, as a plot, this film stretches every way humanly possible. At times, it's going to count on you to just throw logic out the window, because some of it may not compute to make the most sense, but they make the most sense as it pertains to the action sequences. I think that's the whole point of this film, is to give you set piece after set piece after set piece, more than necessarily a plot that makes much sense here. As we do get John Wick, we understand that he's trying to get his freedom. We get this new big bad, this new villain in Bill Skarsgård, who, while his villain works for the high table, it's not fully explained what his role necessarily is, or how is it that he has so much power and so much reign. Now, as just a fan of this series, I think you can get lost in the action of this film here. And I mean completely lost in it. You're not going to have a second to breathe. This is the longest John Wick movie. This movie is about 2 hours and 40 minutes. I can honestly say, after sitting through it, I didn't notice it was 2 hours and 40 minutes, because everything is relentless. While granted, I think the plot is like razor thin on what it's going to give you as pertains to any storyline here. But what you're in here for is just the set pieces. You're in here to see, can John Wick get himself out of this situation? And I think between Keanu Reeves doing, again, what Keanu Reeves does, which is this monotone action delivery, which he's great at, synonymous at this point in his career at doing it well since Speed. I think, like, if you get lost in that character, you get lost in Lawrence Fishburne popping up and giving you the most amazing speeches, and then Donnie in this film, who is name of character is Kane. He's a new adversary / friend for John Wick in a way, and his character adds so much comic relief that's necessary for this movie. And it's not that he's going out his way to be funny. it's just the situations that's presented by his character and his character reactions to things are extremely funny. And that helps move the plot along. At times when you felt like the action was too much, like everything was hitting you from every which way humanly possible, Donnie Yen's character would come in. Donnie Yen's character would come in and just inject some humor. Inject, at times, thoughts that the audience were thinking about how crazy everything is going on here. And I think that helped this movie move along with its plot, considering that it's 2 hours and 40 minutes long. I started this review off by calling it a Fast and Furious movie. If you've seen Fast and Furious 5, 6, 7, possibly 8-ish, this would fit directly into that mode. It is a ridiculous stunt after ridiculous stunt. It is so much gung fu that this is the first time in the era of John Wick where I can say the gung fu kind of rivaled what I was accustomed to earlier John Woo movies, where it was an art to the way it was done. Here is a scene in Osaka that the way they set it up, the execution of it is some of the best gung fu you will ever see on film. It is one of the best action set pieces I've seen ever. It is so grand in scope, so big, it's so many people involved in it that it's almost to perfection. To the extent where maybe the rest of the film doesn't feel as perfected as this, but that doesn't mean you don't get great stuff. It's just that later on in the film, I think they just go bigger and bigger and bigger. And at times, you're going to have to dispel a portion of belief that this stuff could, for any reason, be real. Including one scene late in the movie in an abandoned, it seems like church building / thing, where the way they set up the shots, it's like you're playing a first person video game. To the T. Nothing in this shot looks realistic. Everything just looks like you just have a controller in your hand and you're playing a video game. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that in a way that it's entertaining still. But at that point, you have just given up any chances of any realistic action in this film by that point. Luckily, that point is in about the third act of the film, so it's perfectly fine. At that point, you're almost 2 hours in. So if you got to dispel belief for the last 30 to 40 minutes of the film, I think that's perfectly fine. As it pertains just to the direction is still good. Chad is still great at putting up these set pieces, and I think that's what makes this series so good for so many people, is the way they set up these set pieces. The acting in this film, it's what you expect out of an action movie. Nothing extravagant, no one's amazing in it, but everyone understands their role here, and that's highly important, because you don't want people to try to overact in a film like John Wick. Again, Keanu Reeves is a star. As monotone as his delivery is just as much his charisma shines through on everything he does. You are captivated the moment John Wick comes on screen, and you want to see more of him. Same thing with Donnie Yen. Same thing, you want to see these people on screen even more. And then Shamir Anderson, I hope I'm saying his name right, because I've seen him in so much stuff and I absolutely love him. Here in this film, as he's playing a new introduced hitman / adversary / comic relief with a dog at times in this film. Great addition of a character here, where we get a character who's kind of straightforward, but he still has enough personality, enough comic relief to keep you intrigued, to the extent where his character is so good, I would love to see a possible spinoff with his character in it. It would be extremely interesting between him and his dog and the things we get to see them do in this film. And speaking of the things we get to see people do in this film, as I said before, it's action nonstop. This is the biggest action movie you're going to possibly see in the next 10 years. It is so much stuff going on in this film from an action standpoint. I would love to know how they set up some of these set pieces, with the dog especially. It's one scene which is a car chase turned into an escape run, turned into a video game turned into everything humanly possible. That's what you're going to get with this film of John Wick. I think this is the perfect film for action movie fans. If you are a fan of early 2000 action movies, and I say early 2000s for people that don't understand what I mean by that. In the 90s, we had a set kind of perimeter of what action movies were. In the 2000s, they upped it to like level 10 just to get it bigger and better and badder, and we did get some really good films from that. That's what this John Wick film feels like. It feels like a film that knew that its character at this point, and not necessarily Keanu Reeves, but the series is kind of long in the tooth at this point. Granted, it's only been, I want to say now 9 years since the first John Wick came out in 2014, but it's still long in the tooth because just how many times can you have a hitman dodge bullets before you need something else to up the ante? And they did a great job here at upping the ante with the set pieces, the action pieces. It's so much more action scenes in this film than it is in the last one, John Wick 3, which a lot of people said there was a lot of action in that film. I'm almost willing to bet if you combine the action scenes in the first 3 movies, it probably wouldn't equal what you get in this one movie. But again, it's needed for this type of film, because if you didn't get these action pieces from this type of film, I think it could get mundane after a while, and then it would take the audience away from it. Instead, they just up the ante to up the ante to up the ante, and I think that is something that people are going to get extremely excited about. So, John Wick Chapter 4, brought to you by Lionsgate. This comes out, I want to say, March the 24th. This drops in theaters. Out of a possible 10, I am going to give John Wick Chapter 4 a 9 out of 10. This is an action movie. For anyone who loves action movies, this is an action movie. I am almost willing to say that this movie is released during the wrong time of the year. This is a summer blockbuster pick. Complete. I don't think I'll see an action movie this year that is as entertaining as this one is. I hate to say it, but I feel bad for the Fast and Furious franchise, because I think you got beat to the punch by John Wick 4. I don't think you can top this type of film. It is big set pieces, big action pieces, amazing comedic timing in this film, which is highly important, along with having possibly the modern day best action star going, and that's Keanu Reeves. And I think people are going to absolutely love this film. I don't know how you could not love this film once you see it. But let us know when it drops what you think of John Wick Chapter 4. This has been another JVS movie review. Peace, people.